You know that moment in a horror movie right after the survivors finally escape the haunted house?
Oh, yeah, like they're just completely emotionally shattered.
Right. They're covered in blood, breathing hard, and they step outside, and you think the worst is over. You were watching this unfold right alongside us, and you know the exact moment I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. They take that massive collective deep breath.
Yeah. But the reality is, they haven't escaped anything at all.
Yeah.
I mean, they've just stumbled off the set of a physical meat grinder and right onto the set of a deeply twisted psychological thriller. And the doors have essentially just locked behind them.
It's just the ultimate bait and switch, really, because surviving a physical threat like they just did, well, it creates a very specific kind of adrenaline crash.
Oh, totally.
Your guard drops because your brain thinks, the immediate danger has passed, which leaves you completely vulnerable to systemic environmental dread.
Which, honestly, perfectly frames our mission for you on this deep dive today. We are unpacking the absolute emotional gauntlet these survivors went through during their very first day in the village of Barovia.
It's a heavy one.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we have to start with a quick look at the sheer trauma they are carrying into this village because, it dictates every decision they make from here on out.
Yeah, that context is everything.
Right. So 5 strangers walked into Death House. You had Fiad, the secretive fiddle player, Heliax, the massive orc cleric looking for his lost family, Leona, the runaway tiefling noble, Corso, the gentle bard, and Arlek, the amnesiac wizard.
But only 3 of that original 5 actually walked out.
Exactly. Corso was taking the dark, leaving behind literally just a cloak and a severed finger.
Yeah, that was brutal.
And Leona was drained to a husk because she stubbornly refused to abandon the ghost of a little girl. And while they lost 2, they gained this unexpected ally on the way out, Geshlorbar.
Right, the kobold.
Yeah, this scarred veteran kobold weapons instructor. He was sent to bring Leona home, but arrived way too late, and now just carries her greatsword. So you have this heavily traumatized, newly forged group burying their dead in the mist.
And then the land itself just physically corrals them.
Yes, it pushes them toward a gloomy village beneath this looming castle, and their welcoming committee is just a guy dragging zombie corpses into a pile.
Cassius. Yeah, an AOL soldier who wandered into the mist and has spent the last 2 days defending a village that doesn't even want him there.
It's so bleak.
It is. But what really struck me about this opening sequence is the nature of the attack on the village walls. Because every single night at sunset, a small, calculated wave of zombies attacks.
Like clockwork.
Exactly. It's not some overwhelming horde meant to destroy the town. It's a slow bleed.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's designed to exhaust them. Right.
Yeah, exactly. It keeps the villagers terrified, breaking their spirit day by day, rather than just wiping them out all at once.
Because if you wipe them out, the game's over.
Precisely. It's pure psychological warfare. If you wipe out a village, you lose your playthings. But if you keep them in a perpetual state of siege, you control their entire reality.
They turn on each other.
Right, which is exactly what we see with the villagers on the rooftops aiming crossbows at the party, refusing to let them in.
Yeah, the only reason they get through those gates is Ismark, the overwhelmed young acting burgomaster. I mean, his father is sick, half the town has fled, and Ismark just lets them in because Cassius vouches for them.
It's a desperate move.
It is, but the moment they step into the village square, we get this bizarre incident with Arlek, the amnesiac wizard.
Oh, the statue.
Yes, he looks at a weathered statue and is suddenly flooded with warmth and safety. But then, seconds later, he looks up at the towering castle on the cliff, and his body goes into a full-blown panic attack.
Just a visceral reaction.
He literally stumbles into the mud, completely physically unable to look at it. And, I mean, I have a hard time wrapping my head around this. If his conscious memory is completely wiped, how is his body reacting so violently to architecture?
Well, it really comes down to the mechanics of somatic memory. It's the idea that, the body keeps the score even when the hippocampus...
The part of the brain that does memory?
Right, the part responsible for explicit memory. Even when that's compromised, the amygdala, which processes fear and threat detection, operates totally independently of conscious recall.
Oh, wow. So his body is just acting on its own.
Exactly. Arlek's nervous system is recognizing a stimulus. It doesn't know why the castle is a threat, but it is firing off adrenaline and cortisol, just screaming at him to flee.
That is insane.
It suggests that whoever Arlek was before he woke up under that tree, his past is inextricably, perhaps violently tied to that castle.
That is just terrifying to carry around inside your own nervous system.
Absolutely.
So the party clearly needs a moment to recalibrate, right? So Ismark takes them to the local tavern, the Blood of the Vine, and the atmosphere inside is just suffocating.
Oh, yeah, so tense.
The barkeep, Eric, is serving heavily watered-down wine. And to cut the tension, Fiad pulls out her fiddle and starts playing. And here is where the session throws a massive curveball.
The hooded stranger.
Yes, there's a hooded stranger in the corner who relaxes at the sound of the music. She lowers her hood, introduces herself as a wine merchant named Sorvia, and walks over to the table. And she is a dead ringer for Fiad.
It is an incredibly unsettling visual. I mean, same red curls, same brown eyes. The implication is staggering.
Especially because Fiad has been the keeper of secrets this whole time. And Sorvia casually mentions she recognizes Fiad's playing style, claiming she must be from here.
Which just raises so many red flags.
Right, and Sorvia isn't just a lookalike. She actively defends the local tyrant. When Ismark whispers the name Strahd von Zarovich, Sorvia pushes back. She claims Strahd is the land.
And you really have to notice how Heliax reacts to this.
Oh, man.
Because as a cleric of Saloon and a seasoned monster hunter, he doesn't operate on social niceties at all. He reads behavioral patterns.
He immediately clocks her.
Yeah, he sees that Sorvia shows zero concern for the zombies outside. Her pulse isn't elevated. She is entirely too comfortable in a literal war zone.
Heliax calls her out to her face, accusing her of being a spy. And the physical escalation is instantaneous.
It goes from 0 to 100 so fast.
Cassius grabs Sorvia's shoulder and she just effortlessly twists his arm behind his back, and Gesh, this 4-foot-tall veteran kobold, quietly blocks the door. You have a room full of traumatized people ready to ignite.
Ismark barely diffuses it by reminding them that these merchants are the only source of food or joy left in the town.
Yeah, he lets them leave, but not before asking Sorvia to tell the old lady on the road to send more pies.
The pies. We have to talk about the pies.
It's so messed up. Right outside the tavern, they watch a villager fall to her knees in the rain, begging Gesh for a pastry.
And when he doesn't have one?
She screams and starts shoving mud into her own mouth in sheer withdrawal. Cassius casually mentions half the town is strung out on these things. I just struggle to understand how a simple pastry can reduce a person to that level of primal desperation.
Well, it shifts the mechanism of control from physical fear to chemical subjugation.
What do you mean by that?
Like, a standard tyrant builds walls to keep people in. But a sophisticated tyrant introduces an addictive substance that alters the neurochemistry of the population.
Oh, right.
These pies likely induce a dream state, a temporary escape from the waking nightmare of Barovia. Once the brain experiences that relief, the baseline reality becomes totally intolerable.
So the withdrawal is worse than just a craving.
Exactly. It isn't just a craving. It is the sudden, crushing return of all their trauma at once. That's why she eats the mud. Her brain is misfiring, desperately trying to simulate the physical act of consuming the cure.
That makes the environment feel so much more hopeless.
Yeah.
But the tension doesn't stay out on the streets. We transition straight from that systemic horror into a deeply intimate, visceral horror right back at the bar.
The coin.
Yeah. Arlek tries to pay Eric for their meal with a single gold coin.
And the rejection of the coin is a subtle but alarming red flag.
Eric picks it up, looks at it like he's mesmerized, and then slides it back, telling Arlek to keep something so precious. And immediately after, Eric coughs into his sleeve, and there is blood.
Such a tense moment.
Arlek looks closely and spots 2 distinct puncture wounds on Eric's neck, just below the collar. Eric gets incredibly defensive, covers it up, and calls them mosquito bites.
Yeah, like anyone is buying that. This specific interaction strips away any illusion of safety within the village walls.
Yeah,
and it forces a severe ideological clash between Heliax and Cassius.
It really does. Heliax examines him and loudly, like in the middle of a dead silent tavern, diagnoses a vampire bite. His bedside manner is brutally pragmatic.
Brutal is definitely the word for it.
He tells Eric he has 2 choices. Leave town right now to turn into a monster, or let me put you down right here. It is wild.
It is intense, yeah.
Imagine a doctor walking into a crowded waiting room, loudly announcing your terminal diagnosis to everyone, and then offering to just shoot you to save everyone the trouble.
It sounds callous, I know, but you have to understand the mechanics of how Heliax views vampirism.
How so?
He doesn't see it as a disease to be managed, you know?
Yeah.
He views it as a supernatural contagion with a 0% survival rate. And he lost his own family to the dark.
Oh, that's true.
For Haliax, the only variable left is how many innocent people Arik will kill when the infection finally overtakes his nervous system. Taking his life now is, in his rigid framework, an act of community preservation.
But I have to push back on Cassius here. Cassius jumps in, insisting nobody has to die today. Like, is Cassius just being dangerously naive? He wants to drag a potentially infectious, turning vampire through the streets to the local church. Isn't he risking the entire party for a stranger who is actively lying to them?
Cassius is operating on stubborn idealism. He walked away from a war he didn't believe in, which means he refuses to accept the concept of acceptable collateral damage.
Right.
Yes, it is tactically reckless, but for Cassius, the moment you start executing sick people in taverns based on a grim probability, you have already lost your humanity.
That makes sense.
The party needs Cassius's fierce hope just as much as they need Heliax's cold logic to survive.
So they compromise. They grab Eric, who is completely in denial, by the way, and march him through the rain to the church. But before they even knock, they hear someone inside sobbing.
And the building itself is a wreck?
Pews are smashed to splinters. Father Donavich answers the door looking completely sleep-deprived. And this is where the lore becomes a physical barrier. They try to bring Eric inside, but Eric digs his heels in. He's terrified to cross the threshold. Why does this happen? Is it a magical force field?
Well, it is the enforcement of a deeply rooted magical law. In classic vampire lore, the inability to enter a residence without an invitation stems from ancient laws of hospitality and sovereignty.
Okay, so it's a rule of the world.
Right. The threshold is a metaphysical boundary. The infection inside Eric recognizes that he no longer possesses a human soul with free agency. He belongs to the creature that bit him.
Wow.
Therefore, he cannot violate the sanctuary of another unless the sovereign of that sanctuary explicitly surrenders their boundary by inviting him in.
That is fascinating. But Gaish and Heliax bypass the hospitality rule entirely by just physically shoving him through the doorway.
Which works, practically speaking.
And the chilling part is, the second Eric is over the threshold, his posture changes. He relaxes and genuinely cannot remember why he was just fighting them. His brain just overwrites the panic.
It's terrifying.
But they can't even focus on that because Gaish uses his paladin senses.
A divine sense.
Yes. Gaish stops dead. He senses an undead presence directly beneath their feet under the floorboards. What does that actually feel like for a paladin?
Oh, it is not a subtle feeling. It is a profound sensory intrusion.
Like a smell.
It often manifests as an olfactory hallucination, mixed with a sudden pressure in the sinuses. It's a jarring scent of ancient dust, stagnant blood, and ozone that registers not in the nose, but deep in the soul.
That is so evocative.
And the world turns cold, and the mind is alerted to an unnatural corruption of the life cycle nearby.
So Gaish points his sword at the floor, and the party begins an absolute surgical dismantling of Father Donavich. Donavich is panicking, claiming the noise under the floor is just ceremonial wine settling.
Such a weak lie.
When asked about his missing holy symbol, he lies and says he gave it to Ismark for his sick father.
But Arlek, who has no memory but a sharp intellect, easily spots the contradictions.
Right, he calls him out.
And Fiad gently corners him, pointing out that if Donavich plans to heal Eric, he needs his holy symbol. Cassius stops being polite. They completely box him in with his own logic.
And Donavich just shatters. He drops to his knees, grabs Heliax's cloak, and begs, "Please don't kill my son."
The total collapse of a desperate man.
We learn that Donavich's son, Doru, was a priest in training. A week ago, Doru decided he was tired of the village living in fear. Everyone believed Strahd had been dormant for a century, so Doru marched up to the castle to kill him in his sleep.
But he failed.
Massively. He came back changed, half turned into a vampire. Donavich couldn't bring himself to kill his own boy, so he chained him in the cellar and has been praying over him ever since.
Now, connect the timeline here.
Okay, what do you mean?
The calculated zombie attacks on the village walls, they began the exact same night Doru left for the castle.
Wait, so the zombies aren't just a random siege?
No, absolutely not. Strahd is punishing the entire village for Doru's audacity. He turned the boy, sent him back as a parasite, and then surrounded the village with undead to ensure no one could leave and no help could arrive.
Oh my God.
He is torturing a father, starving a village, and demonstrating his absolute authority without ever leaving his castle. It is master-level psychological domination.
Which forces the party to confront this reality in the dark. They open the trapdoor. Heliax, Cassius, and Gaish descend into the cellar with a lantern. The smell of wet earth and mildew hits them, and they find Doru.
The prodigal son.
And he's just a terrified kid. And against all known rules of this world, He is clutching his father's missing holy symbol, the blazing sun of Lathander.
And that detail completely short-circuits Heliax's rigid framework.
Right. Heliax and Donavich start arguing lore right there in the dark. Donavich insists a true vampire couldn't hold a holy object without burning. Doru is clearly fighting the turn, trying to cling to his humanity.
He's right on the edge.
But then Doru makes a request that is just unthinkable.
The blood test.
Yes. Doru looks at these armed strangers and asks them to cut themselves. He wants to smell fresh blood to prove to them and to himself that he can resist the hunger.
It's an incredibly bold move.
He says if he fails and attacks, they have permission to kill him. I mean, this feels like an addict handing you a loaded gun, asking you to put their drug of choice on the table just to see if they can stare at it without using. Why would you ever agree to facilitate that?
Because for someone like Gesh, the need for a sliver of hope outweighs the tactical risk.
Tell me more about that.
Let's look at Gesh's mental state. He failed to save Leona, the young woman he was sworn to protect in Death House. He is literally carrying her sword as a monument to his failure.
Oh, wow.
Now he is standing in front of another young person on the brink of being lost to the dark. For Gesh, this test isn't just about Doru's physiology, it is about his own need for redemption.
That makes total sense.
He needs to know if salvation is still a mechanism that functions in this world.
So Gesh locks eyes with the boy. He draws his own blade across his hand, letting his blood scent the stagnant air of the cellar. The tension you feel as a listener in this moment is agonizing.
I can only imagine.
Doru's fangs slide out a full inch. His entire body coils up. He hisses, and you can see the monster physically fighting the boy for control of his nervous system.
It's a battle of pure physiological craving versus psychological willpower.
But he holds his ground. He does not attack. And right at that exact moment from the floorboards above, Donavich screams down into the cellar. "My son, you remember the blessing? Say it."
And that is exactly where the session cuts to black.
Unbelievable. We are left hanging on a knife's edge. Will Doru master the hunger, or is the hunger going to master him? And that's just one thread.
Yeah, there's so much more.
We still have Arlek's somatic memory of the castle. We have Sorvia wearing Fiat's face. The terrifying pastry addiction holding the town hostage. The mystery of who actually bit Eric at the tavern. And the army of zombies waiting outside the walls.
It is an overwhelmingly oppressive environment. And, as we look at this intricate web of suffering, I think it illustrates a profound mechanism and how evil actually operates.
How so?
Strahd hasn't lifted a finger directly against this party, yet through a doppelganger, through addictive pastries that rewrite the villagers' neurochemistry, and through a chained, half-turned sun beneath a church, he has engineered a scenario where the community tears itself apart from the inside.
They're doing his work for him.
Exactly. He turns their own hope, their own grief, into the very weapons that destroy them. It isolates everyone.
It is a masterclass in isolation. When you asked us to unpack the psychology of this session, you pointed us toward the ultimate question of survival. When you are dropped into an inescapable, systematically rigged environment that is actively trying to break your mind, who do you become?
That's the real question.
Do you fiercely hold on to your humanity and stubborn idealism like Cassius? Or do you harden your heart, calculate the grim mathematics of survival, and prepare to do the unthinkable like Heliax? You're surviving the haunted house, but what kind of person walks out the back door? Keep turning that over in your mind, and we will see you next time.